Deep in the hills of southern Africa lies an ancient city of stone. It's been abandoned for centuries, yet it still holds secrets that have waited over 1,000 years to be told. This is Great Zimbabwe. It all started back in the 11th century when the powerful kingdom of Zimbabwe rose to prominence. Their capital was a bustling hub of trade, a place where merchants from Africa, Arabia, and China came to buy and sell their goods. Gold, ivory, and glass flowed through this city, making it one of the richest in the region. The profits made here built enormous stone structures, which still stand to this day. But how did they do it? How could they build such impressive structures without any mortar, not a single drop of mortar? These stone walls rose over 30 feet high, a feat that still baffles engineers today. They carefully stacked millions of granite blocks on top of each other. To put that in perspective, it would take an average-size construction crew over 100 years to build just one wall. And there are 7 of them in total, encircling the royal enclosure. For centuries, the Europeans who colonized the area refused to believe that Africans built it, so they invented wild theories about lost white civilizations that supposedly built Great Zimbabwe. But today we know the truth thanks to archaeology. The kingdom reached its peak around the 13th century during the reign of King Tabo, also known as King Solomon. He ruled with an iron fist, crushing rebellions and expanding his empire. The city grew into a sprawling metropolis with ornate palaces, giant stone structures, and a population that may have reached 18,000 people. But then something strange happened. By the 15th century, the city was mysteriously abandoned. The once proud kingdom was reduced to a crumbling pile of stones, forgotten by history. So today we explore the fascinating history of this incredible city and try to answer one of the biggest questions: why was it abandoned? Before we get into the mysteries, let's look at the history of Great Zimbabwe. We don't know exactly who founded the Kingdom of Zimbabwe, but we do know it was established in the 11th century by the ancestors of the modern Shona people. These ancestors were a Bantu ethnic group from Central Africa who migrated south and established several small chieftainships along the way. As they moved, they picked up new ideas and technologies, eventually forming a powerful kingdom that would last for centuries. Great Zimbabwe wasn't the only city in their empire. In fact, there were several important cities, including Kami, which served as a religious and administrative center, and Dannemong, which was probably a military garrison town. But Great Zimbabwe was the biggest and most important city in the kingdom. It was the seat of the monarch and the center of trade and culture. Today, the Great Enclosure is the most famous structure at the site, and for good reason. Its massive stone walls still stand over 30 feet high, and they perfectly circle the hilltop on which the royal palace once stood. But the Great Enclosure wasn't the only impressive structure in the city. There were also smaller enclosures used for various purposes, as well as a number of buildings and other structures. One of the most impressive aspects of the architecture is the sheer scale of the project. The builders moved millions of granite blocks without the use of mortar or any other binding material. They managed to achieve this by cutting the stones to fit together perfectly. Each stone monolith weighs several tons and is expertly shaped and fitted to create a seamless wall. This took an incredible amount of skill and precision, and it's still not clear how they accomplished this feat. Another impressive aspect of the architecture is the attention to detail. The builders paid close attention to the alignment of the walls with the cardinal directions, and they also created a number of decorative patterns and motifs. These patterns often featured animals such as birds and snakes, as well as geometric designs. The builders also used a variety of techniques to create different effects. For example, they sometimes used long, thin stones to create a herringbone pattern, while other times they used short, thick stones to create a more solid look. The architecture of Great Zimbabwe is a testament to the ingenuity and skill of the builders. It is an impressive example of African architecture, and it is a reminder of the rich history of the continent. But it's also a source of national pride for Zimbabweans, who see it as a symbol of their heritage and culture. The government has invested heavily in preserving the site, and it's now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Visitors from around the world come to marvel at the ruins and learn about the history of this once great kingdom. But the architecture is only one part of the story. To fully understand Great Zimbabwe, we need to learn about the society that built it. We know that the kingdom was ruled by a powerful monarch who was considered to be a descendant of the mythical ancestors of the Shona people. The king's power was absolute, and he was supported by a council of elders and a powerful military force. The economy of the kingdom was based on agriculture and trade. The fertile lands around Great Zimbabwe produced a variety of crops, including grains, fruits, and vegetables. The kingdom also had a sophisticated system of irrigation canals that helped to water the crops. Trade was another important part of the economy. As we mentioned earlier, Great Zimbabwe was located at the intersection of several important trade routes. Merchants from all over Africa, as well as from Arabia and China, came to the city to buy gold, ivory, and other valuable commodities. The wealth generated through trade helped to support the construction of the impressive stone structures that still stand today. Religion played a major role in the culture of the kingdom. The people of Great Zimbabwe were animists, which meant that they believed that the natural world was full of spirits and that these spirits could be both benevolent and malevolent. They also believed that the king was a kind of intermediary between the human and spirit worlds, and that he had the responsibility to maintain harmony between them. The abandonment of Great Zimbabwe is one of the most intriguing aspects of its history. As we mentioned earlier, the city was mysteriously abandoned in the 15th century. Archaeologists have been unable to pinpoint the exact cause of the abandonment, but there are a number of theories. One theory is that drought and famine caused the city's demise. Another theory is that war and conquest played a role. Some historians believe that the kingdom was eventually conquered by the expanding empire of the Zulu people. A third theory is that disease may have played a part in the abandonment. Smallpox and other diseases brought to Africa by European traders could have devastated the population and led to the city's demise. Sadly, we may never know the true cause of the abandonment. The ruins remain silent, and the stones whisper their secrets to the wind. What do you think happened to the people of Great Zimbabwe? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. While the city of Great Zimbabwe is truly remarkable, it's important to remember that it was just one of many great cities in Africa. Throughout history, African civilizations have made countless contributions to science, art, culture, and society. Unfortunately, many of these contributions have been overlooked or ignored. But it's important to remember that Africa is the cradle of humanity, and it's been home to some of the most advanced and sophisticated civilizations in history. From the pyramids of Egypt to the Great Wall of Ethiopia, Africa is home to some of the most impressive examples of human ingenuity. The Kingdom of Aksum, for example, was a powerful trading empire that controlled access to the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. They were known for their impressive obelisks and their adoption of Christianity in the 4th century AD. The Kingdom of Songhai, on the other hand, was a vast empire that stretched from the Atlantic coast of West Africa to the Indian Ocean. They were known for their scholarship and their patronage of the arts. And of course, we can't forget the kingdoms of the Swahili coast, such as Kilwa, Kisiwani, and Zanzibar. These kingdoms were famous for their trade networks and their cosmopolitan cities, which were home to people from all over the world. These are just a few examples of the many great African civilizations that have been all but forgotten. I hope you enjoyed learning more about the Kingdom of Zimbabwe and the amazing history of Africa. If you did, please subscribe and join us on our quest to explore the fact sphere. Thank you for watching.